set to go. So in the previous discussion, we saw that by doing dry cycle analysis, we can actually extract a lot of important information. And some of the important information was that what is the maximum acceleration that a vehicle might experience in a given traffic. Also, what would be the maximum speed that a vehicle would travel. We also came to know that how many frequent start stops would there be in the driving pattern, and would there be regions where the speeds would be very low and we would be having very frequent stops. So all those things were the points which we could extract out from the dry cycle analysis, and this was the summary table which we saw in the last session. So what today we are going to do is that we will be applying the dry cycle to design of an EV. Okay, so in the first example, we took a platform, the Tata Magic platform. Okay, so this is a very popular vehicle and it's used for transportation of people, as well as there are modified versions which can be used as a goods carrier. So a very popular vehicle which people like to have. Now, to apply the dry cycle analysis and to design the or to determine the size of the drivetrain which would be suitable for this vehicle, we first need to know some of the important vehicle parameters. And the parameters that we are talking about are given here. So if you remember in our course, there was about the vehicle dynamic modeling, I think, which was module 2, if I'm not right, if I'm not wrong. So module 2 and module 3 had a lot of mathematical equations, and in those mathematical equations we had parameters like mass of the vehicle, which happens to be 1.6 tons for Tata Magic. Okay, then the roll coefficient of rolling coefficient or rolling resistance, sorry, so that was around 0.015 for this vehicle. Gravitational acceleration constant, well, it's 9.8 meters per second square. It's not specific to a vehicle, it's a universal constant. And then air density is around 1.3 kilogram per meter cube, so this is again independent of the vehicle. But then the point number 5, which is the aerodynamic drag coefficient or CD, okay, which is a vehicle dependent parameter. So that was around zero point 0.6, and the frontal area of the vehicle was 2.7 meters square for Tata Magic, and the radius of the wheel was zero point 0.2 meters. Okay, so these were all the important parameters that we need for a given vehicle to develop the dynamic equations of motion. Okay, so when I say that we are going to develop the dynamic equations of motion, it essentially means that we are now going to use these parameters to find out how much force or a torque would a vehicle need when it moves along a given drive cycle. Okay, so Tata Magic is the vehicle, the parameters are given here, and all the mathematical equations for dynamic motion were given in the module 2 and also in module 3, if my memory serves right, in the course. Okay, and the drive cycles are given here, which we discussed in the previous webinar. So we now have all the components with us, we have all the relevant information with us to do any kind of analysis now. So the first analysis that we started to do was that we determined for various kinds of dry cycles that what would be the torque requirement at the wheel. Okay, so if you are looking at Delhi dry cycle, then at the wheel we need a maximum torque of, the maximum torque that we need for Delhi dry cycle is around 507 Newton meters at the wheel. Okay, so that much is the maximum torque that the wheels would need if it's driving on Delhi drive cycle. The maximum power that the wheel would need is around 29.5 kilowatt, or we can very close to 30 kilowatt. Okay, and the maximum speed of the wheel in RPM is around 795 RPM. So all these numbers we get from the dynamic equations of motion that we had in the module 2 and module 3 of the course, and using the data of Tata Magic as well as the drive cycle data, we came to these numbers. So similarly, we determined the maximum torque, power, and speed for various drive cycles. So this thing was done for all the 8 drive cycles which we had earlier discussed. Now, if we look at this, then one thing is clear: the maximum torque requirement at the wheel is for New York City cycle, which is around 893. And if we see the reason for that, then it would be evident from the drive cycle. So here we have the New York City cycle on the right hand side, okay, NYCC. So if you see here, there are instances when the vehicle comes to almost a standstill. Okay, so here, for example, the vehicle is at standstill and then accelerates continuously up to 35 kilometers per hour. There are other instances, for example, here, okay, at 100 seconds, the vehicle comes to a standstill and then accelerates from 0 to 40 kilometers per hour. So these are very steep accelerations. So whenever we have to accelerate, the torque demand on the wheels increases. So that's the reason why the maximum torque demand is very high for New York City cycle. Okay, so it was around 893. Whereas if we look at Delhi drive cycle, which was the first drive cycle that we looked here, so the maximum acceleration happened after 1200 seconds and we went up to 50 kilometers per hour. But the duration in which we went up to 50 kilometers per hour is not as short as in case of New York City cycle. So in New York City cycle, people reach higher speeds much faster, or they want to reach higher speeds much faster than in case of Delhi drive cycle. So that's the reason why New York City cycle has a more torque demand, whereas Delhi drive cycle has a lower torque demand compared to New York City cycle. But apart from that, if you look at all other drive cycles, the maximum or the peak torque demand at the wheels is not that high. Okay, for example, the European drive cycle NEDC, the torque demand is hardly 370 Newton meter. So that means if we have a vehicle like Tata Magic and it's moving on European traffic, then the maximum torque demand would be hardly 370 Newton meter, and the European drive cycle or the NEDC is shown here in the figure. So this becomes a kind of a benchmark to expect that what happens once we start to do the drive cycle analysis for a given vehicle. Now, similarly, if we see the power demand, okay, so the power demand is the highest for Delhi drive cycle, followed by New York City cycle. Now, this raises a question that why is the power demand higher for Delhi drive cycle, whereas the torque demand is higher for New York City cycle? Okay, and by looking at the analysis, we can see the reason for that. The reason for that lies somewhere here. So if you see in Delhi drive cycle, once a driver reaches the speed of 50 kilometers per hour, then again there is an acceleration and the person tries to reach 60 kilometer per hour. Okay, whereas in case of New York City cycle, the speed never goes beyond 50 kilometers per hour. So it essentially means that if you are at a higher speed and you accelerate, then your power demand is higher. Okay, whereas in New York City cycle that does not happen. The maximum speed in New York City cycle is 45 kilometers per hour, whereas in case of Delhi drive cycle, the at 50 kilometers per hour, the person accelerates and tries to reach 60 kilometers per hour for a short duration and then comes down. The speed comes down. Okay, so this, to meet this kind of a acceleration requirement, we would be needing a higher power, and that's the reason why for Delhi drive cycle we would need around 30 kilowatts of peak power, whereas for New York City cycle we would be needing around 27 kilowatts of power. Whereas for all other drive cycles, the power demands are not that high. Okay, if I compare the European and the Delhi scenario, so you see in Europe you would need a maximum power of 16 kilowatt, and in Delhi you need a maximum power of 30 kilowatt. Okay, So there is a big difference. And now this is again the point which we have to ponder, which I told you, or which we discussed in the last session as well, that due to bad driving practices, it happens that we sometimes need the performance rating of the prime mover to be much higher. Okay, had people not gone for such frequent acceleration even at higher speeds, okay, then the power demand for daily drive cycle would have come down. Okay, and that's also logical, because in a city condition there is actually no need to go beyond 50 kilometers per hour. The maximum speed limit in most of the cities worldwide is 50 kilometers per hour. It's even in India as well. But since we don't regard those speed limits, then the result is that to satisfy the customer's expectations, we need a power plant, or a motor in this case, which has a power rating of 30 kilowatts. Otherwise, we could have done with a lesser power rating. Moreover, if we look at the acceleration patterns, due to the erratic acceleration that we would face in Delhi, for example, we need much higher torque than you would need in the European conditions. So now one thing is clear. If I have a Tata Magic, and if I have a motor and all the electric drivetrain for meeting the expectations of a driver in Delhi or a typical Indian city, and then take that vehicle and try to sell it in the European market, we would have problems, because that drivetrain will be much overrated for European conditions. For European conditions, a 16 kilowatt peak power and 370 Newton meter of peak torque is just sufficient. Whereas in India, in Indian traffic conditions, we need 30 kilowatt of peak power and 507 Newton meter of peak torque for Tata Magic. So if we take an Indian Tata Magic, electric Tata Magic, and sell it in Europe, we have a problem. If we take a European vehicle with European drivetrain and bring it to the Indian market, we again have a problem. Okay, because the power and torque demands of these two locations are entirely different, and that happens because of the traffic conditions. So that point comes out very clearly when we start to apply it to a specific scenario. And here the scenario is the Tata Magic vehicle that we took. So now here you see this was the requirement that we have at the wheels, which I have shaded now. The other thing that we would need is the requirement at the motor. Okay, so the torque of 507 Newton meter that we need at the wheel will be different from the peak torque that the motor has to produce. So in case we take a gear ratio of 1 is to 15, okay, then the peak torque that the machine or the electric motor has to produce is 87 kilowatt. Okay, so 507 Newton meter peak torque at the wheel becomes 87 Newton meter at the motor shaft if we use a gear ratio of 1 is to 15. Clear? Similarly, the power of 29.5 kilowatt at the wheel translates to around 32 kilowatt at the motor shaft. Okay, the power is a bit higher because we have taken the losses into account. So between the wheel and the motor, you would have a gear, you would have some transmission mechanism, some rotating parts, they would have their own efficiency. So if you need 30 kilowatt at the wheel, then the motor should produce at least 32 or 33 kilowatt depending on the efficiency of the system. Okay, similarly, if I use a gear ratio of 1 is to 13.5, okay, if I use a gear ratio of 1 is to 13.5, then if the wheel needs 507 Newton meter of peak torque, then the motor should produce 93 Newton meter of peak torque at its shaft, and that torque will be amplified by the gear ratio. Okay, so if the motor produces 93 Newton meter, then you multiply it with 13.5, which is the gear ratio, and you will come close to 507 Newton meter. Clear? Whereas the efficiency of the shaft remains more or less same. So the efficiency of a 13.5 gear ratio was slightly higher than the gear ratio of 1 is to 15. So that is why instead of 31.89 kilowatt, you need 31.16 kilowatt. Okay, so 1 is to 13.5 gear ratio had a slightly higher efficiency than the gear ratio of 1 is to 15. So that's the reason why for 1 is to 15 gear ratio, you need a motor with a output power, peak power of 32 kilowatt, 31.89 kilowatt. And for 1 is to 13.5, you need a motor with a peak output power of 31.16 kilowatt to make sure that the wheel gets 29.5 kilowatt of power. Now, that was about the peak power that the machine has to produce, and the peak power and peak torque that the motor has to produce for different drive cycles for two gear ratios. Now, we took these two gear ratios, 1 is to 15 and 1 is to 13.5, because they are the most common ones, okay, and they are the most preferred ones by the automobile industry. So that's the reason why we take these two specific gear ratios. Clear? Now, there is a big distinction between the motor and the internal combustion engine. So, if we use an internal combustion engine in this Tata Magic and we say that the peak power requirement would be 29.5 Newton meter, then we have to use an internal combustion engine that will ensure 29.5 kilowatt of power. So that means we would go for an internal combustion engine of 40 kilowatt because of all the efficiencies. So a 40 kilowatt output from the engine would result in 29.5 kilowatt power at the wheel. Clear? But whereas for a motor, if we need 29.5 kilowatt at the wheel, it means the motor should be producing around 31 or 32 kilowatt of power, peak power. But that does not mean that we are going to use a motor with a rating of 32 kilowatt power, since the motors which are used in this kind of vehicles would be liquid cooled. So these motors can be overloaded. Okay, every motor, be it air cooled or liquid cooled, they can be overloaded. Liquid cooled motors can be overloaded more than air cooled motors. Okay, now because of this overloading, what happens is that the actual motor that we need will have a lower power rating. So the rated power for this case, we are considering liquid cooled machine. So for a liquid cooled motor, if we have a rated power of 12 kilowatt, that means we can overload it by a factor 2.5, 2.7 very easily for short durations of time. That essentially means that a 12 kilowatt of rated power motor can deliver 32 kilowatts for few seconds. Okay, and the peak power demand happens for few seconds. It's not something which will last for minutes. It's for maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and you can overload the motor. So that's the basic difference between a motor and an internal combustion engine. An internal combustion engine cannot be overloaded. So if you have a 75 horsepower engine, then the maximum power that you can extract from it is 75 kilowatt. Whereas if you have a 75 kilowatt motor, okay, in that case you can overload the motor and you can even extract 150 kilowatt power for a short duration of time. For 5 seconds or 10 seconds, you can extract 150 kilowatt from a 75 kilowatt motor. But this is not feasible for internal combustion engine. So that's a big advantage of using electric motor as a prime mover for EVs. And this is what we see for different drive cycles. The rated power requirements are not very high. For daily drive cycle, it is around 12.5 kilowatts. Okay, whereas for the new European drive cycle, it's around 5.86 kilowatt. So you see, if you have a more disciplined traffic, then the amount of actual rated power that you need for your motor is just 6 kilowatt. Whereas for an unruly traffic of Delhi or New York, you need around 12 kilowatt rated power. Now, if you need more rating of the motor, that essentially means that the motor is going to be expensive. So these are the drawbacks, which again brings us to the point that if the traffic is not really regulated or controlled, and if the driving behaviors are not good, then that results in a system which is bigger and which is more expensive. This is what we discussed last time using the drive cycles, and today we have even numbers to support that. Okay, so this is something which you can see very clearly over here. This was the requirement of the torques and the power at the wheel and at the motor, and also the rated power of the motor. And this was when we are driving on a flat surface. Okay, but usually a vehicle will not drive on a flat surface. So what we do is we also try to see what are the torque and the power requirements once we go up a grade. Okay, going up a grade means we are going uphill, where it may be driving up a hill, an actual hill, or climbing a flyover. So these are all going up a grade. So once we go up a grade, then the torque requirements start to change. Okay, so let's see here. For example, if you are going at a grade of 5 degrees, which is not a very steep inclination, a 5-degree inclination, and you want to maintain an acceleration of 1 meter per second, okay, per second square, sorry, and would like to reach the maximum speed of 32 kilometers per hour, or to be precise 32.4 kilometers per hour in 9 seconds. Okay, then the maximum torque that you need at the wheels is 630 newton meter. Okay, and the maximum power that the motor has to deliver, maximum power that you would need at the wheels is 28.28 kilowatt. Now if you use a gear reduction of 1 is to 15, then the maximum torque at the wheel would be 45.56 kilowatt. If you use a 13 1 is to 13.5, then the gear ratio, the torque at the motor shaft would be 51.75 newton meter. Now same situation, if you want to go on a 5-degree grade, but you don't want to accelerate at 1 meter per second square, but you are happy with zero point 0.5 meters per second square, and you would like to go up to a speed of 43 kilometers per hour within 24 seconds, then the maximum torque at the wheel would be just 472 newton meter. Okay, now if you want to go another example about acceleration, so if you want to go up a grade of 10 degrees, okay, and you want to maintain an acceleration of zero point 0.1 meters per second square, and you want to reach a maximum speed of around 21 kilometers per hour within 6 seconds, then the maximum torque that you need at the wheel is around 900 newton meter, and the power that the wheels would need is around 27 kilowatt. Similarly, if you want an acceleration of zero point 0.5 meters per second squared at 10-degree grade, okay, then you need a maximum torque at the wheel of around 741 newton meter, and the maximum power at the wheel around 30 kilowatt, and it keeps on increasing. So if you want to go on a grade of 17 degrees, that means you are really climbing a steep hill, which might be a possibility in hilly states like Himachal, Uttaranchal, or Arunachal, Sikkim, and so on. So they have very steep climbs in the cities as well. Okay, so in that condition, if you want to have, let's say, an acceleration of zero point 0.5 meter per second square, and would like to reach a maximum speed of 18 kilometers per hour on the climb, and you want to reach that maximum speed in around 10 seconds, then you need more than 1000 newton meters of torque at the wheel. Okay, so this is how the demand on the wheels keeps on changing. Now if you see for 17-degree grade, the maximum torque that you need at the wheels is 1200 newton meter for an acceleration of zero point 0.8 meters per second square, and 1110 newton meter for an acceleration of zero point 0.5 meters per second square. Now both these torque demands, if I use a gear ratio of 1 is to 15 or 1 is to 13.5, it doesn't matter. the torque demand goes beyond what the motor can give. Okay, so here we chose the motor with different ratings. Okay, so if we choose even the biggest motor, which could deliver a peak torque of 31 or 32 newton meter, okay, so it goes beyond the rating of the machine. So the machine, if you use that machine in a Tata Magic car, it is fully loaded, and it has to climb a grade of 17 degrees, then you cannot have an acceleration of zero point 0.5 meters per second square. Okay, maybe you can have an acceleration of zero point 0.1 meters per second square, but definitely not uh, an acceleration of zero point 0.5 meters per second square, because the motor will not be able to deliver that much torque. Okay, it's beyond the capacity of the machine. So this grade climbing is also another important factor which we have to take into account when we are designing a drivetrain, and we should clearly specify that if you buy this vehicle, then this is the maximum performance that you can expect when you are climbing different grades. Okay, so now as a driver, I should also be more judicious and more careful, that I should not demand a very high acceleration on a steep grade like 17 degrees. If I demand a very high acceleration, then of course I will have to put in a bigger motor into the vehicle. And if I put a bigger motor into the vehicle with more capability, then eventually we have to make the machine expensive. A bigger motor would definitely be more expensive, and then there would be problems of space constraint and so on and so forth. So everything starts to get bigger if your prime mover is bigger. So that creates problems. So even our expectations from a vehicle should be reasonable. Now, this is something which is very important. Usually when we buy a car, okay, for personal use, we go with the horsepower rating. So we have a 100 horsepower engine, or a 150 horsepower engine, and so on, and we feel very happy once we have an engine with higher and higher power. But actually, for an average person, in the entire driving life of the vehicle, you would be using the entire power only once or twice, and that too not for more than 15 or 20 seconds. Okay, and for those 20-30 seconds in 10-year life of a vehicle, you are going to have an unnecessarily big engine, and most of the time it will be underutilized. So what's the point of having that? So that is the important thing, that if you are buying a vehicle for your personal commute, okay, and if your driving sense is good, then you do not need such a huge horsepower in the vehicle, because you will not be using that much power. Okay, and most of the time the prime mover, internal combustion engine or the motor, would be underutilized. And if you underutilize something, for example, if something is designed to give you, let's say, uh, 30 kilowatt of power or 20 kilowatt of power, and you are just extracting 10 or 15 kilowatt of power from it, then you are compromising with the efficiency, because the system gives you maximum efficiency at the rated point. If you are not operating at the rated point, then the system efficiency, of course, is much lower. So we are not going to do any favor to anybody. You paid more money to get a higher horsepower, but you are never going to use that much of horsepower. And as a result of that, you are bringing down the efficiency of the system. So eventually, we are not doing good to ourselves, because we paid more money for something which we won't use, and we are not doing any good to the environment, because the system is is operating at a lower efficiency, and that results in more pollution. So that is something which we have to keep in mind. And this kind of analysis that we are doing, that gives you a clear idea of the numbers, that what are reasonable expectations and what are not. And these numbers can also educate the users of the vehicle. Plus these numbers are extremely important when you're designing a drivetrain. Okay, sometimes this number like 17-degree grade might be a mandatory requirement for from the people who are buying the vehicle. So let's say you are making uh, 200 Tata Magic for a fleet to be used in Himachal Pradesh, okay, by the Himachal Road Transport Corporation. So in that case, the Road Transport Corporation will specifically mention in the tender that, look, we are going to use this vehicle in hilly terrain. There are many steep climbs, okay. So 17-degree grade is a usual thing that the vehicle will encounter, and we need a decent acceleration of around zero point 0.5 meters per second square, and we want that the vehicle should have a maximum speed of 18 kilometers per hour when it's going 17-degree uphill. In that case, you will use a bigger motor for application in Himachal, because in that case that is the regular condition, okay. But it will be very unwise to use that motor for a vehicle which will be driven in Delhi or Mumbai or in any of the metropolis which are on flatlands. So the choice has to be done judiciously. And then we come to systems which are extremely efficient and are cost effective and are also environment friendly.